guys, so a common comment or some things that I've seen is a lot of people are curious about knee pain. I've suffered from knee pain myself. I know that my parents have, my sister, I know a lot of people in the gym have suffered from knee pain. So a couple of things that I found that have helped me. First, I'm not a medical professional, so I think if it's something that's really severe and something really bothering you, definitely seek out a medical professional, a third party, and have them evaluate it just to make sure that you're not missing anything major. So I definitely always start with working with my PTs if some nagging pain isn't going away. I think knee pain can be a couple different things though. It could be tendonitis, so we've taken our joint or our tendon past the loading. It could be maybe one glute's not firing, so you're compensating and you're putting all of that compensation onto one part of your body. It could be just a poor movement pattern where we're just loading incorrectly. It could be lots and lots of different things. So I think keep that in mind, that this isn't meant to diagnose one specific thing, but it's definitely some stuff that I have found works, and hopefully it will work for you as well. The two things you can use are a lacrosse ball, or I like to use, this is actually a Supernova, so it's slightly bigger than a lacrosse ball. It's actually more similar to the size of a softball, so that way it's not direct pinpoint into the area, but it has a wider surface area, which will feel a little bit better, but still be a little bit more intense than if you're using a foam roller. So I'm gonna show you two awesome smashes. One is gonna be for your piriformis muscle, which it kind of connects from your SI joint through your pelvis. It's under your glute med, and it's a muscle that sometimes we tend to forget about. You can feel it when you're rotating the femur, especially if it's super sticky. The other one is not actually a muscle, it's the IT band. So it's the tendon that runs from your hip all the way down. A lot of times if you're doing a lot of running, you might experience a little bit of pain. They're very hard to stretch because they're not muscles. It's also tough to smash, but I like to smash the edges of the IT band where it connects to other muscle groups, and that seems to really help. So I'm gonna take you through both of those. For the piriformis stretch, I actually use my GoWOD mobility app, so it has the timer. It has 1, 2, or 3 minutes. My favorite is gonna be right in that 1 to 2 minute range, so I'm actually gonna set it for 2 minutes. So I just click play, it starts to count down. Then I'm gonna take my ball, stick it right under my hip, and I'm gonna cross my ankle. So from here, I'm just gonna lean slightly over, and then I'm just gonna pulse back and forth about 50 times. Once I get past 50, if my timer's still going, then I might switch directions and just see if I can find a sticky spot. But all I'm doing here is just trying to open up that muscle and dig a little deeper into an area that's a little bit harder to stretch, so the smashing seems to do really well. So once my time has run out, I'll usually switch sides. You can also use the larger diameter for smashing out your QL. So what that's gonna be is right between your ribs and your rib cage and your hip. And I'm just gonna kind of roll forward and back and dig a little bit deeper, trying to allow myself to sink into the ball and the ball to gently press and smash out my side. I tend to like the larger diameter because it's a little bit more pinpointy than the foam roller. I can get in a little bit deeper in these hard spaces, but it's not too pinpoint and too small like the lacrosse ball. So another good smash is gonna be our IT band. Again, this is something that's super hard to stretch because it's not actually a muscle. So when you come down to your IT band, think about it running nice and thick all the way down the side of your leg, okay? So that's gonna be our hamstring and our quad. I like to smash the insertion into my hamstring and into my quad. So what that's gonna look like, I'm gonna roll slightly forward. It always feels so good. Rolling all the way up to my hip and then coming all the way back down towards my knee. You may feel a little bit of pressure when you get down towards your knee, and that could be causing some of your knee pain that you're feeling. So rolling down, if you find a sticky spot. So right now I'm on a sticky spot, I like to close. So if you notice my bottom leg is closing and then it's opening. So I'm just isolating that sticky point, and then I'll keep moving. From here, once I've done the quad insertion, I can roll back and do towards my hamstring. This one's usually not as bad for me, but it might be bad for you. Just kind of smashing out. I like to spend about 60 seconds to 2 minutes rolling each of those points. So once we've gone through the smashing, it's a really good place to start. The next thing is gonna be some of the iso holds. So I have 2 really awesome holds that I love. The first one is gonna require a band. I typically would say either a blue or a green band, so you want a little bit of thickness to it, but you don't want it to be too thick. I'm gonna hook it right at my knee height, okay? From here, the outside knee is gonna be the one that I'm hooking the band around. So I'm gonna step through the band, and it's gonna go just above my knee. Next, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have a little bit of tension on the band, so it's wanting to pull my knee in. I don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna focus on 3 points of contact. So when I say 3 points, I have my big toe, my pinky toe, and my heel for my 3 points of contact. I wanna make sure that I'm not rolling to the outside of my foot and losing one of those points of contact, because right now I only have 2. So I wanna press my big toe through the floor as much as I can. Then I wanna think about my hip bones always pointing forward. So I don't wanna get any weird shifts in my hip. From here, I'm gonna press hard, and then I'm gonna think about pulling my knee out. So you can even see I'm losing a little bit, so I wanna press harder. Sometimes I have to just put my hand down to find what that feels like, and then let my knee track out. Where I feel this is all in the back glute and the hip. And then I'm just gonna hold, maintaining that tension, 3 points of contact, and pulling my knee out to the side. The goal is gonna be to do this for 60 seconds at a time. I'm not quite up to 60 seconds yet. I can make it about 30. Then I have to take a break, make sure I reset myself, and then I'll accumulate another 30 seconds. The next iso hold is gonna be a Spanish squat, which is kind of like a banded wall sit. I know that sounds a little bit funny, but you're gonna think about your back. So if I was sitting against the wall, I'm gonna try to find that same position, but the band is gonna be pulling me forward. So that's where the iso hold comes in. Ideally, I'm gonna use a green band for the video. Ideally, you want as thick of a band as you can have to help strengthen your tendons. So I'm gonna put the band just behind my knees, find my squat stance. From here, I'm gonna think about sitting straight down, midlines engaged, and then holding. So what's happening is the band is wanting to pull me forward, and I'm having to force my knees out into the band, keeping my 3 points of contact as I hold. My goal is gonna be to do 3 sets of a minimum of a 60-second hold in this position. You can already see I'm starting to shake slightly, and that it's a little bit more challenging in a different way than a wall sit on its own. I really think about digging my heels into the floor to turn my hamstrings and my glutes on, engaging my midline, and keeping my 3 points of contact. With my knees, they should never be caving in, but pulling out similar to the last drill that we did. With those 2 drills, I think it's super important to do the single leg iso hold first. Get the hang of your 3 points of contact, pulling your knee out without rotating to the outside of your foot. Once you've done that on each leg for about 60 seconds, or at least 2 sets of 60 seconds, then I would move to the Spanish squat. I think it's important to make sure we can establish that single leg connection before moving into our regular squat stance. So once you've mastered those 2 things, now we can move on to something a little bit more complex. This one I'm still working on mastering. So I'm taking the same concept of having my 3 points of contact, so my big toe, my pinky toe, my heel down to the ground, knee pulled out without rotating. Now I'm gonna add in a little bit of movement, so it's gonna force me to stabilize from my midline, and also adding a little bit of a row, a single arm row on the end to activate my opposite lat. I sometimes get a cross pattern between my shoulder and my knee and my hip, so this one is helping me work on fixing that. So what it looks like, I'm gonna start with a red band. I'm gonna come out to where there's some tension. I'm gonna have my right leg be my plant leg. So I'm gonna establish big toe, pinky toe, heel as my 3 points of contact. From here, I wanna think about pulling the knee out, but again, without my foot completely rotating. So I'm almost screwing my foot into the floor. Tension on the band, midline is tight. So I'm gonna do an RDL, back up a little bit. Slow and controlled. Hinging, trying not to let my knee fall in. Then I'm gonna push through and row. Let's try that again. So my goal is to do 10 reps on my right leg, followed by 10 reps on my left leg for 2 total sets before I get into any squatting for the day. You'll notice that is an extremely challenging drill. Just taking your time, having a band that's not too tight, slow and controlled is gonna be the name of the game on that one. So these are just a couple things that have really helped me. They've helped with some of my knee pain. What they've helped me realize is that maybe my right glute isn't firing, which is causing my knee to dive in. So if we can just kind of figure out and kind of slowly try out one thing. So first, start with stretching. This is one of my favorite stretches. It's a couch stretch. I should be able to get my knee closer to the wall. If I'm able to do that, it's gonna loosen all of this fascia, which is gonna take pressure off of my knee. So spending 2 to 3 minutes in this couch stretch position, starting with that. From there, go into smashing. Start to smash out your IT band, smash out your quad, smash out your glute med, your piriformis. Start to see if some of that can release the junky tissue and allow things to slide and glide a little bit better. Then we can start to add in the iso holds and the banded activation exercises. Iso hold for our midline, for our posterior chain. The single leg one is gonna target our glute a little bit. The Spanish squat is gonna target our hamstrings. From there, then you add in the compound and the complex movements with the rowing and the band that I showed you at the very end. Just slowly try one thing, make sure you stick to it, get it into your routine, do it before, do it after, and hopefully some of this will start to take away your knee pain. Again, I'm not a medical professional in this. I'm not a PT. I do see a PT. Some of these exercises have come from my PT, Maddie, who works for Affiliate PT. If you're really struggling and it's been nagging for a long while, I would definitely check out seeing a physical therapist. I hope this has helped. Stay tuned for more great stuff and have a good day.